In 1600, Miyamoto Musashi disappeared. No announcements, no followers, no record of where he went. He simply vanished from the world and returned years later as the greatest swordsman Japan had ever seen. He did not document the training. He did not seek an audience. He went into darkness. And what came out of that darkness was a man no one recognized. Most men today are doing the opposite. They announce the journey before they've taken a single step. They perform the discipline before they've built any. And they wonder why, after months of effort, they still feel like the same man. This is why. There is a disease spreading through men right now. It has no name, but you know it. You felt it. It is the compulsion to show people you are changing before you have changed. You start the diet and post about it. You begin the training and film it. You read the book and share the quote. You announce the new version of yourself before he even exists. And every time you do, every like, every view, every comment that says, "Keep going, brother," your brain receives a small reward. Not for the work, for the performance of the work. The ancient Japanese understood this as a form of spiritual poverty. To need the eyes of others to do what must be done is to confess that you cannot trust yourself in the dark. It is not discipline, it is theater. And theater, no matter how convincing, produces actors, not warriors. The man you are trying to become does not need a stage. He needs a forge. Now let me tell you what silence and darkness actually mean, because most men get this wrong. Silence is not hiding. Darkness is not retreat. In the Zen tradition, there is a concept called Mushin, no mind, the state where a warrior is so deeply immersed in his practice that thought, ego, and the need for approval completely dissolve. Musashi wrote about this in the Book of Five Rings. He called it the void, not emptiness, not nothing, the space where a man becomes fully himself without the interference of what others think of him. Most men will never reach this state because they are too loud. They fill every quiet moment with noise. They fill every private hour with performance. The monk who meditates for 20 years in a mountain monastery does not post about it. The swordsman who trains 10,000 cuts before sunrise does not count them for an audience. They do the work because the work is the point, not the recognition that follows it. Every man who has ever built real, deep, unshakable knowledge did it in rooms where no one was watching. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the Roman Empire. He commanded armies, governed nations, shaped history, and every night he wrote privately in a journal that was never meant to be seen, not for publication, not for his legacy, for himself. The meditations, the work that has shaped millions of lives across 2,000 years, was a man talking to himself in the dark, holding himself accountable with no audience to impress. That is how wisdom is built. Not in lectures, not in highlight reels, not in comment sections. You want to study? Then disappear. Read the books that are difficult. Sit with ideas that challenge everything you think you know. Let those ideas change you before you share them with anyone. An unformed thought shared publicly is just noise. A fully forged conviction, that is the weapon of a man who studied in silence. Now the body. In Japan, there is a practice called misogi, a ritual of purification through extreme physical challenge, performed alone, in nature, without witnesses. A warrior would enter the mountains, train until his body broke, then train some more, and emerge not just stronger but purified. The point was not performance, the point was transformation. Today men film every rep, every run, every cold plunge. They need 12 people to watch them suffer before the suffering counts. But here is the dark truth. When the camera is on, you are performing. And the performance always has an end. The moment the audience disappears, the discipline follows. Real physical transformation happens at 5 a.m. when it is cold and no one cares. It happens in the unfilmed rep, the run you didn't track, the training session where you didn't say a word afterward. That is the work. And only the man who can do it alone will continue doing it when life becomes difficult. Here is where most men give up, because the silent path has no validation checkpoints. No one tells you you're on track. No one confirms the work is working. You simply continue, month after month, in the dark. And this is exactly where the man is forged. The world is full of men who can perform discipline in public. There are very few who can sustain it in private. That rarity, that is where your edge lives. Think about Musashi again. When he disappeared, people thought he was finished. They moved on. They filled the silence with their own noise, and then he returned. Not older, reborn. That is what happens to a man who commits to the invisible work. One day you surface, and the people who watched you announce your transformation while you were still the same man will not recognize you. Not because you changed your appearance, because you changed your appearance, because you changed your substance, the way you move, the way you speak, the way you respond when the world tries to break you. These are not things you can post about. They are things people feel when they are near you. Musashi said, "Do nothing that is of no use." Every announcement of your transformation is energy spent on the audience instead of the work. It is of no use. The samurai code does not reward the man who talks about his path. The Stoic code does not honor the man who performs his discipline. They reward the man who, in darkness, in silence, in the absence of all validation, continues. Go be that man. Disappear. Study. Train. Rebuild yourself where no one can see. And when you surface, let your presence speak first. If this spoke to you, subscribe and stay close. Every video on this channel is built for the man who is willing to do what others won't. In silence, in darkness, until the work is done.